All right. All right. Sorry. So there were so many people that registered for the event that we had to put a waiting list up, and then we decided we're going to live stream it on Facebook for those that couldn't attend. So we are live. For those that weren't able to attend, I hope that you're watching. My name is Dana Walsh, and I am here representing Weebly this evening. I'm super excited to be here, and on behalf of Weebly, Square, Google Cloud, thank you so much for all coming. General Assembly, thanks for having us at your beautiful venue, and Emily, who's over at the front desk, thanks for making tonight possible. I'm not sure if all of you know this, but tonight is actually the first event of our summer event series titled Run Your Business from Anywhere. Personally, as a New Yorker, I'm very excited it's in New York. But just quickly, raise a hands, how many of you use Weebly? All right, Square, cool. And what about Google Cloud? Awesome. And who's a member of this General Assembly? Oh, wow, they're too good for us, I guess. All right, so just a little background. We've decided to team up for this event series because all of our platforms have amazing users that showcase how you can design a website or online store with Weebly, how you can sell anywhere with Square, and how you can manage and really run your business with Google Cloud. And not to mention, we integrate pretty well together. In showing how this is possible in running one's business anywhere, we have 4 very successful online small businesses here this evening to share their stories. And I'm thrilled to introduce and thank these e-commerce all-stars who were able to spare some time and share their stories with us this evening. They are Megan Elizabeth, who is an all-star kick-ass freelance artist and a mom. Raquel and Dav from Dharma Yoga Wheel. They're one of our longtime users and good friends of Weebly. Lauren Luchna and Randy from Farmstand Apothecary, a natural and organic skincare line. And we also have 3 representatives from Weebly, Square, and Google Cloud. Derek, one of our awesome designers from Weebly. Spencer McCluskey from Square. And I was going to say Carmen, but you don't look like Carmen. This is Todd from Google Cloud. So tonight is really all about getting inspired. We're here to share experiences, tips, tricks, and some of the best e-commerce practices in the game right now. But we also want to mention that we have some pretty cool giveaways and incentives. I'll be sharing an email with all of you tomorrow with some of our Square and Weebly discounts if you guys want to get started with your online store. And Google Cloud has a pretty cool giveaway as well, so stay tuned for that email tomorrow morning. Now to the agenda of the evening. We are going to have our 4 small business owners share their success story and then offer up the guests to ask Q&A, followed by having our 3 representatives from our brands and platforms offer some of the best tips and tricks, followed by Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Megan Elizabeth. And she's going to quickly share her story with us.
We can't be on at the same time. Hi guys. So as Dana mentioned, I'm Art by Megan. I actually go by that, which is really annoying because it's my business name, but it's sort of stuck. So when you're developing a business idea, make sure it's something that you want to be called for years and years to come. So my family and friends now call me Art by Megan. It's kind of precious. I am a Brooklyn-based abstract painter, and I left a career in teaching. I was a high school teacher for 9 years. And when we moved to New York City, I had an opportunity to sort of reinvent myself. So I did. I just sort of took the leap, and I decided that I wanted to become an artist full time. I had always done it on the side, and it just wasn't fulfilling me enough. So I was like, here goes nothing, literally nothing. I didn't know what I was doing. So 2 years ago, literally a month ago, I became a business. Now, what do you do, right? So everyone's like, pick my platform, pick my tool, use this, use that. And at the beginning of having a business, you're literally just surviving, right? You're maybe I'll try this platform, maybe I'll try that platform. You have to find the one that fits your needs as a person. So I could tell you my solution to organizational problems and fear of doing my finances and like all sorts of things that are basically only my problems, but you have to experiment and you have to reach out and be like, for my business, it's different. And I think in the world of creatives, sometimes we celebrate being different, right? So it's like, just kind of latch on to that and don't forget that it's okay to invent yourself in your own way. And that's sort of been like really freeing for me, because I know that there's people that do it a certain way and it's perfect and it's super successful for them, but it didn't fit my mold. So a little bit of my backstory. I'm a mom. There I am with my daughter. When we moved to Brooklyn, I worked out of our spare bedroom, which is only a spare bedroom in New York City standards, because I'm from Maryland, where spare bedrooms are like larger than your closet. So I had this little tiny studio. On social media, I called it the teeny tiny studio. And I could like stand, I mean, I'm tall, but like I'm not that humongous. And I could touch all the walls at any time. So I started small, is my point. I didn't know how to get to the next phase, so I just kind of celebrated where I was, and I didn't really stress out about it. Then I decided to start my social media. I had 200 friends, like people I had met in my real life, and I begged and pleaded with them that they support me on this journey, and most of the people were like, that's pretty cool. And slowly, very slowly, I built an audience. Now, my advice to anyone who's building an empire of any kind is you have to meet real people. You have to go to things like this in real life and not network, but genuinely care about another person's business and make a friendship and then gain an Instagram follower. Because right now, especially in the way that social media is changing, it's not enough just to have absentee followers. You have to have invested people that actually love your business. So that's been something that, like, from minute one, I loved that. I love meeting people, and so I sort of used that to my advantage. I knew that I wasn't good at other things, but I sort of just like put that by the wayside and maximized on what I know I can do well, which is mingle, hang out, make jokes, talk to people about their businesses, like just enhance what you can do well and sort of use that as your foundation for your business. Then I joined a group of creative entrepreneurs called the Rising Tide Society. If you're in New York, I'm the leader of the group, so you should come to our meetings. And it was pivotal in the building of my entire business. At these meetings, once a month on a Tuesday, we creatives of all types, all kinds, all walks of life, all ages, every type of creative you can ever imagine, we talk about what you need to do to run a business. And each month we have a different topic. So last month was SEO and blogging, and I was like, help. But the next month was client experience, so I was like, that's my jam, you know? So you learn that you have strengths as a business owner, you have weaknesses, but if you continue to have like an attitude towards lifelong learning, that you can sort of overcome all these obstacles that really aren't obstacles at all. So look us up. It's called Rising Tide Society. Then in 2016, I started using a tool called Honeybook, which is a workflow management tool for creatives. And again, like it's a solution for lots of different types of creatives. They actually are they fund the Rising Tide Society, so all of our activities are open to the public and free because of Honeybook. And actually, something super exciting, Honeybook just launched a community app, which is free to anyone in the whole world. So if you download the app Honeybook, you can post an opportunity or look for opportunities that are in your city or anywhere in the whole world and find someone that you can partner with. It's so cool. It's like the future. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. So let's say I travel to Paris for the weekend, as one does, and I say, I want to find a photographer to take pictures of my family while we're there. I can post that in the app, and then someone who lives in Paris gets the keyword, and they'll receive a notification, and then suddenly there could be like a creative connection. It's pretty cool. I've used it a couple times in New York City, and I have a photo shoot coming up with my art in an interior space with like super beautiful furniture, which for me, like as a person who had the teeny tiny studio, like my photos on Instagram were not good, right? Like it was the yellow wall of like a closet and my painting on it. So like this is good, right? This is like major progress. I mean, I'm now confident as a one-woman operation. I think it's hard because like we all go through phases of feeling confident and feeling good about how far our business has come, but then we were just talking with a couple of the panelists earlier, and there's always room to keep growing. And I think what separates an entrepreneur from a person who gives up on a small business opportunity is that we don't really give up, or like we work around everything that comes in our way. And it's exhausting, but it's also amazing, you know? So it's kind of one of those like, if you give up, you know, you have to figure out a way to get around that. Or you have to make a friend or find a connection or someone that's gonna like push you further. Because for me, that's been essential in my business. There's obvious times as a one-woman business owner that as a mom and like, I could easily do something else, right? Like I could go back to teaching, I could do anything else that's predictable, but for some reason I have this drive, this like little idea in my head that won't go away at night. Literally while I'm trying to sleep, it's there, and you just keep pushing. So if you're out there and you're like, I think this is too much, then you're probably on the right track, you know? It's probably too much, that's good, so just keep going. Dana, do I have one more slide? Oh yeah, so this is a fun little story. On the left is the teeny tiny studio, and I had to like walk into the hallway to take this picture. So I'm like in our living room looking in, okay? And this was my dream come true. I have to explain this to you guys. Like, my parents saw this photo and they were like, oh my gosh, when you were a little girl, you dreamed of this. You couldn't have ever imagined that you would have a little tiny room dedicating to making a mess, doing whatever the hell you want, whenever you want to, like dreaming up crazy ideas. It's like my like secret little laboratory, right? So then when I had a chance and I looked at a new studio space in Gowanus, Brooklyn, I like walked into this dingy, scary industrial space and I literally just burst into tears because I was like, I thought this was the end of the story, right? Like, this was the dream come true. I didn't even think this was me. Like, people like me don't get this part, you know? So I just stood there, and it was like really gross, like dirty. So I just stood there and I was like, holy crap, what am I gonna do with this space? So now like I can't touch the walls from any part of the room. And I just keep going. So I think, don't set the bar low for yourself, but just know that like you can achieve more than even fathomable, right? Like there are goals out there that are bigger than the dream. So just keep going. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Also, you guys should follow Megan on social media. She's a big deal. When I told someone she was coming tonight, they're like, oh my God, Art by Megan. I was like, yeah, we know her. All right, so next up is, I guess we had some more slides, is a Dharma yoga wheel. I'm gonna hand this clicker to you so you guys can click. There's just some photos, actually. If you want me to do it, I can do it. Okay, cool. And just to give you a little bit of background, we actually filmed Dharma Yoga Wheel in a Weebly video a couple years ago when they were getting started. They're a pretty big deal now. We can't show the video for sound because we don't want Facebook Live to be excluded, but we'll hear it in your words. So thanks for coming, and floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name's Raquel, and...
Hi, my name is Dove.
So this business kind of created itself. We had no desire to create a business. We're both yoga instructors, and I was a nurse. It started 3.5 years ago, and we were both training at the Dharma Yoga Center. His dad actually owns it in New York City. And we were looking for something to help open our backs, back bending, and his dad had a scrap piece of plastic in the corner, and we were like, oh my goodness, that looks like a perfect thing to bend over and help open our backs. So Dove took it, and he started rolling on it back and forth, and we heard all these cracks and pops and snaps. Snap, popple, crack. What is this? Yeah, whatever. Right, so we heard all these, and we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So every day before class, because we went every day, we started using it. And it looked similar to this. It was a little different. Like I said, it was a scrap piece of plastic. It wasn't a final product. And we used it every day for like a month, right? And our back bends were amazing. So I went to my friend Mike, and we asked him if he could create it out of wood. So we wanted it selfishly for our house. So he created a product. We added grips. We added all different types of just like attributes to it to make it more comfortable. And we created it. We posted it on Instagram, and instantly people were like, hey, can you make us one of these? So the story goes, we made 10 of them. We sold 10 in like a week. We started selling one a day within 2 months, and then all of a sudden, within 3 months, we were selling 100 a day, just based off of Instagram. And we didn't have a really big following at the time. What did we have, like 10,000 followers each or something like that? And it just started propelling, and to this date right now, we've sold over 60,000 around the world. There's about maybe 100 companies that have copied us since then. We do have a patent on it, but we don't feel like suing people. It's not our vibe. But yeah, so we sell it all around the world. And like I said, this business created itself, and we've just been rolling with it. So we're constantly reinventing, right, this wheel. We did a few TV things. We're going to be doing another one, which I can't mention because we can never mention it until it comes out. And we use Weebly. Weebly was it was the easiest thing that we could find because we didn't have no idea how to create a business, a website, anything like that. And it was so simple to use. So thank you, Weebly, for being around for us. And we created an e-commerce site. Actually, at first, we had people put their credit card information in the contact form. That's how little we knew about, we didn't even know what e-commerce was. So we did that, and then someone emailed us and was like, this is pretty unsafe. You guys should probably have a different platform. So we learned as we went. And then Weebly and us, I feel like we grew together because they didn't really have like a shipping platform yet or any of the apps. And we've been with Weebly ever since, and they're constantly innovating, as are we. So I feel like we're just all growing together, maybe them a little faster than us. But yeah, so the platforms that we mostly use were Instagram and Weebly. That's it. And we have such a huge support. We have a lot of NFL players, NBA players, professional athletes on it. Britney Spears was on it. She was on like TMZ with it. It was pretty cool. And yeah, you'll see our product around the world, but we're the first ones. So don't buy any other ones. Don't add anything.
Yeah, we actually started with using Square to make the payments. So like she said, we would have people send us a unsecure contact form with their information, and then I would go on my phone and use the Square app to process it, and then, 3 out of the 5 times, something would be wrong, and then you'd have to email them back, and it would just take like a long time to send one wheel out. But yeah, we had no business experience, and it just kind of like this opportunity was in front of us, and we decided to run with it.
Roll with it.
Yeah, roll with it. Yeah, and as much success as we had, there's always been hardships, and we're still going through them, and we've had a lot that we've overcome, a lot of actually outside, I don't know what you'd call it, just something that was preventing us from succeeding as well. So, going through that, I got a couple gray hairs, but yeah, we're constantly growing and learning, and of course, without Weebly and Square, we would have nothing. So the main thing is, if you have, no matter what it is, if you have the best product in the world, if no one knows about it, then it doesn't really matter. So we have Weebly there to, have our website so everyone can see what we have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they ask, what's the formula for a good business, right? And to be honest, I think it's just following your heart. It sounds really cheesy, but if you believe in the product that you're doing, if you do it 100% with your whole soul, the universe supplies constantly. And sometimes there may seem like a dead end, but it's just the universe turning you in a different direction for a very purposeful reason. You just have to trust in it. So I'm getting a little yogi here, right? But in reality, it's really about going from here, right? Sometimes like we go in this like security phase where, oh my God, I don't have money, I don't have this, right? But that's not the place where your business grows. It grows from constantly here and just trusting the process. So if you really have a product that is amazing, that really helps people, or a business, and you really believe in it, it will succeed. So don't worry about all those downfalls. That was the universe speaking. Hell yeah. Right? I don't know what other pictures are here. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So you can look up our video. I think it's on YouTube, right? On Weebly. It says Dharma Yoga Wheel. They did a little like video of it. It looks really cool, actually. I could never make a video like that. You have to see. Don't look at our YouTube. Some of our videos are homemade. But yeah, like I said, if you really believe in something and do it with your whole heart, there's no real formula. I hate to tell you that. There's some, right? You could definitely get platforms like Weebly, Square. Definitely use what's out there, but the truth is, like Megan was saying as well, go out there, network, talk to people, let people know what you're about and what you're doing. And him and I, we travel around the world and we teach now everywhere. We teach these wheel workshops. We teach people how to teach it now. So we were in Asia for a month. We go to Barcelona every year. Where else do we go? Got invited to Australia, everywhere. Right? So check us out. It's Dharma Yoga Wheel, or you can just go to yogawheel.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely follow them on Instagram. The stuff that they do at the wheel is just absurd. It's really amazing. So next up we have, I think they have the clicker. We have Lauren and Brandy, the adorable couple from upstate New York that started their business not too long ago. You can come on over here. I think we just have one slide of pictures. Yeah, so it's just the next button right there. Yep. Sure.
Hello, everyone. Dana just introduced us. I'm Lauren. This is Randy.
Hey, guys.
We are the founders of Farmstead Apothecary, and we make 100% natural, organic, and cruelty-free skincare. And we scent it with real fruit, nuts, herbs, and flowers. So we founded this company because of our growing frustration with the natural beauty industry. We found that a lot of natural products tend to be very expensive. They are difficult to use. They don't work very well. And sometimes you look at the label and it's marketed as natural only to find out that it's filled with a bunch of chemicals. So we both have very sensitive skin. I have eczema, he has psoriasis. So we really needed gentle, natural products to put on our bodies so that it didn't further irritate our skin. So I set out on a mission, and I decided to make it a hobby of mine to start making products one by one in our home to replace the ones that we were using. And slowly but surely, I came up with a line of products that were easy to use, natural, organic, and simple. And they were very conventional. We didn't want any oil serums, anything too fancy. I know he wouldn't use it. And I personally didn't want it either. So I kept at it until I knocked out all the products in our home. If you're asking, well, how did you do this exactly? That's a very good question. And a little bit of my backstory, I actually attended culinary school to become a pastry chef over 10 years ago. And part of my coursework was chemistry. I had to actually understand each ingredient on a molecular level, how they interacted with other ingredients, and build a recipe from scratch. So that was my fundamental backbone of knowledge for building formulas and understanding what I wanted to achieve with the formula and knowing which ingredients I needed to use to get me there. So I kept at it. I did all the products in our home. We would sometimes create batches that were too big. We'd give it to family and friends and coworkers. And over time, it started growing where people started placing orders, and we didn't even have a business. We were just doing it for fun. So we talked about it. We decided to start a business. And when we decided to do that, we made a promise to each other to keep everything affordable so that nobody would have to choose between their health and their bank accounts, because we've been there. So that was just the beginning, deciding, okay, now we're going to start a business. Now we had a ton of work to do just to build a business. We had to, excuse me, I'm losing my thought. We had to build an e-commerce site. We had to design our own labels, find a labeling manufacturer, find packaging. We had to figure out how we were going to promote our company and which channels we were going to sell in. So it was incredibly overwhelming. The list doesn't even end there. I could roll a list out across the floor of all the things we had to do just to start. This wasn't even working. So we started, and we fumbled across the way many, many times. We realized that we were having difficulty just building our website. We rebuilt our website on 5 different platforms, and Weebly was the last one. So what we found was that platforms were either way too user-friendly and not customizable at all, or they were incredibly expensive and way too difficult to use. So Weebly was the perfect balance of customization and user-friendly. So we decided to stick with Weebly, which was the only platform that could do many things that we needed in an e-commerce site. So from there, we kept growing. We realized that we had this toolbox, and in that toolbox were our tools. And our tools were Weebly, Square, Google, and even QuickBooks. And we needed them to talk to one another. So the awesome part is that they all communicate. That's like a third of the work that we didn't have to do. They all communicated with one another. So when we were at a farmer's market, or we did wholesale order, or we did our e-com, they would all communicate. So we realized that our 5-year goal was to be in Whole Foods. We got in Whole Foods in 5 months. So we were prepared for growth at any rate, slow, fast. So our advice to any startup is be prepared for growth at any rate. And that's pretty much it. We have a bunch of samples for you guys. If you want to come by after, we'll give out free samples. And I don't know where we'll be set up, but probably somewhere over there. So that's it. That's the advice that we can give. Okay.
Awesome. Next up, we have Robert, who's a really good friend of ours at Weebly. We actually work down the hall from him. We didn't even know he had his own business. He just quietly mentioned it one day. We were like, what? And checked out his website, and we're very impressed. Let me pull up that slide, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Again, my name is Robert. I'm not as successful as any of my colleagues over here, but my business is bow ties, pretty much. I create and design bow ties. And at one point, bow ties was becoming very trendy, stylish, and a couple of my friends was like, okay, well, also, let me say I'm a healthcare administrator by choice first. That's my first primary goal, career. So I wear ties all the time, and a couple of friends of mine saying, listen, start wearing bow ties. I'm like, it's not me, no. And then bow ties was just constantly keep popping out, popping in, popping out. I said, okay, fine. But I didn't like the small bow ties. They look like kiddish bow ties. I'm like, dude, I can't wear this. It's just look like a kid bow tie. They're like, listen, wear the bow tie. I'm like, I can't. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. How about if I create a bow tie? And someone told me one time, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So I'm like, okay. I hate wearing bow ties. I wear ties every single day. Now I'm going to create a bow tie. And this is totally out of my comfort zone. So I wanted to create it different for my style. I said, well, I think this is too small, too kiddish. So let me create something bigger and also double-sided. And also, I want to create something where people could tie their bow ties themselves, not the clip-ons. So I'm like, okay. Now, as I'm speaking to you now, you may think I'm a I know how to fashion and I know how to sew. I don't know anything about fashion, anything about sewing at all. So this was like a long process, believe it or not. So I said, okay, where do I begin? So I decided, okay, you know what? I need a seamstress. That would be the first start. Then I need to get some fabrics. So now I'm going up to the fabric district, every single store. I'm pretty much stopping by every single store, trying to buy fabric to make a bow tie. Long story short, I've created over 20 bow ties, and they were all crap. Seriously, I had some drapery fabrics I was creating bow ties out of, everything. I'm like, okay, this is not working out. I've been through over 10 seamstresses as well, and they weren't creating the bow ties to my specification. So I'm like, okay, it was getting exhausted, I was getting tired, but I was persistent. I'm like, you know what, I want to create this bow tie. I want to make sure I complete this mission and go out of my comfort zone. And I finally found this fabric store, and they put me to a company that provided silk fabric. I'm like, great. Okay, now I have the fabric. Now I just need a seamstress. Driving to Long Island, driving to Brooklyn. It's like, okay. It was a long story short, I ended up finding a seamstress, which after creating about 20 prototypes, I was finally satisfied with one of them. I'm like, you know what? This is okay. Because all the previous 20, I tried to sell them. They're like, are you serious right now? This is crap. I knew they were crap, but I'm like, I'm still going to try to make a buck out of it. So it wasn't until I created, with my last seamstress, with my last pure silk fabric, and I got the packaging, everything done again. And I have the packaging as well here as well. You can see it. And then I'm like, you know what? This is presentable, at least for now. So I'm like, you know what? Now I could present this to some degree to some people. So this is my packaging. And trust me, the first one was not like this at all. So when you open it, you get this. Okay? So, if anyone know how to tie bow ties, does any men know how to tie bow ties? A bow tie? It's for you. So now, I have a great product to my standard. I'm like, now I need to basically advertise it. And I'm like, Weebly is right down the hall from where I work at. So I'm like, duh, So I'm like, okay, let me get a website. So I'm thinking they're gonna do everything for me because I'm like totally clueless when it comes to e-commerce and all that social media stuff. I'm totally clueless. So I go there, I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna do everything for me. And Nick is like, you gotta do this yourself. I'm like, are you serious now? So I'm like, okay, so they helped me out. And he told me it was very, very simple. And I'm like, again, a daunting task. Again, now I'm going outside my comfort zone again, going to something that I have no knowledge of, creating a website. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. And I did. Have anyone seen the movie Social Network? Do you remember that scene where Mark Zuckerberg was in his room and he pressed live and he just stopped and it's like, this is it? This may sound corny, but the biggest moment of my business success was when I pressed publish from Weebly website. It was then I realized I have a product now. I have a business. And after seeing the entire website, I'm like, okay, I have something now. And I pressed publish. It was live. I'm like, wow, you have a business. So now I knew the hard work, the endless hours was be ahead of me. Mind you, now I still have a full-time job. So I said, okay, I don't know anything about social media pretty much. So I hired someone to pretty much do all the social media. I also hired a CEO, a SEO, to do everything. And I decided, okay, now I will work on designing the bow ties and also work on the sales. So I contacted several retailers because I would really, really want to basically distribute to retail stores. Not pretty much sell one by one, which I do, but my main goal is to basically get into Nordstrom, Bloomingdale, one of those stores. So after several months, I'm able to get into over 50 retail stores across in the United States. Do you have a clip? One of the biggest, one of the biggest break I had was a gentleman by the name of Billy J. Stein. He won the Grammys in 2015, and he wore one of my bow ties to the Tony Awards. Afterwards, I got flooded with calls. One person. Mind you now, social media, with social media, we advertise doing Father's Day, Mother's Day, everything, and we do get a lot of sales. But that one call, that one scene, that one person wearing the bow tie, because it was so different from everyone else, everyone kept asking him, where did you get it from? Where did you get it from? Where did you get it from? He gave my name, and then calls started flooding in. It's hard work, I'm not gonna lie to you, to the point whereas now I'm contemplating, okay, at some point I have to devote all my attention to one job in order to make it successful. Because at this point, I'm not as successful as I wanna be. That's because I'm not putting enough hours into it, to be honest with you. And I realize that. So, but I'm still amazed from pressing publish and it's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Just want to note that, this isn't Robert's full-time job. This is his passion that is going to and is currently creating a paycheck. And, sometimes this will lead to a full-time job, but a lot of our Weebly users, they work two jobs, 3 jobs, just to be able to do what they love and create that passion into a paycheck. So thank you, Robert, and we loved hearing your story. We have opened the floor now to have you ask questions to these 4 successful small businesses. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand, ask, and I will repeat the question. So feel free to go ahead, and if not, we have some guided questions we could kickstart this Q&A with if needed. Okay, yes? Just if you could repeat the question so everyone on Facebook Live can sync with us, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So to answer your question about the timeline in which it took to get into Whole Foods, when we first opened last April, we started talking to Whole Foods, I would say, in June, and then by August, September, we were in Whole Foods. But we also work full-time jobs, so we were coming home. We were a startup. We were in one other grocery store, so we were working on it as if that was our full-time job when we were outside of work. It's an intense process. It's like a 60-something page application. They want all these details. It's intense. The bigger the retailer that you want to get into, it can be very intense, and each retailer has its own maze that they kind of put you through. So, yeah.
Where I saw the need for first, I did not have a passion for bow ties at all. Because seriously, I wore ties every single day, and my friends were wearing bow ties, and they were trying to get me into bow ties. I'm like, this is kind of corny. I'm not wearing bow ties. I'm not like 60 years old, stop. But following fashion, then you start seeing the trend how everyone started wearing bow ties. So I said, okay. And I'm one, again, who like to express myself differently from everyone else. And I believe everyone should express themselves differently when they dress. So whereas, again, I never followed the norm, pretty much. So I said, you know what? If I feel the other pre-tie bow ties are very small and kiddish, how many people outside this world might feel the same way? So I decided, you know what? Let me create something a bit bigger with great fabric, handmade, and let me make it double-sided on top of that, because everything was pretty much traditional. So I decided, well, this is not really much, it's not really in the market, then maybe there's a need for it. Because again, I've always learned from business school, I have to have a competitive advantage whenever you're creating a new product. So I decided this was a competitive advantage.
Was there any concern, because you're both already very physically fit and in shape, and you're hearing all of this cracking and so forth, was there any concern at any point that it might not work for average individuals?
Actually, no. I thought that because I was so stiff, I was a rock climber for about 10 years, so I had limited mobility in my thoracic spine and my shoulders. He was more flexible than I was. His shoulders are like Gumby. But because I was so stiff and I got so many improvements from it, and my back bends improved tenfold, more than practicing yoga on a daily basis, I knew for a fact that it was going to help everyone with that rigidity. So especially, people that are stressed out, right? Their shoulders are up here, right? The chest expansion helps with breathing. So I knew in my gut personally that this is a product. Once one person wanted it, I was like, everyone's going to want this. At first, I did think that maybe we would sell like 10 in a year. But it was amazing because, like I said, we sold like 10 in the first month, and then all of a sudden it was 4 a day, 10 a day, and people roll on it once, and they were like, I need this in my house. We're not salesmen, so it sells itself. So the wheel's the salesman.
Yeah, it's not just for yoga, even though we kind of made the mistake of calling it Dharma Yoga Wheel, so we limited ourselves into that, category. But yeah, we've had like, older people with scoliosis, like people struck by lightning, like all kinds of like random people who like used our wheel and they're like, this has changed my life.
I mean, a lot of people suffer from back issues.
Yeah.
So they're afraid to do something that could be potentially a little aggressive. So it's wonderful to hear how you were able to apply and encourage people without even having to have to do much except tell your own experience.
Well, the beautiful thing too is we have over like 500 poses on it now. We have workouts, we have whole systems, and we have chiropractors using it, physical therapists using it in their offices. Like, it has gone beyond the yoga world. It's like I said, athletes. I have construction workers on it. We have singers on it to expand their lung capacity. It helps them with breathing. We also do a lot for runners, hamstrings, hip flexors. Like I said, if you could just go on our website, or like Dana was saying, if you go on our Instagram, you will see all the different varieties. You will also see impossible things, right? From like crazy acrobatics doing poses. Don't worry about those, but you will see the most beneficial ones. And if you go on our YouTube, we have videos of the easier ones that everyone could do.
Mic, so those on Facebook Live can hear as well. Here you go.
This is for Megan. You're an abstract painter. So, and I know how you talked about your startup and, of course, still working on it and everything. Basically, right now, what is it at your website that you have, or do you have photographs of your paintings up there? How do you quote unquote advertise it? Does it come like word of mouth now?
It definitely started as word of mouth, and then I really ran my business through Instagram primarily at first because I wasn't confident in building my site. I had a website, and I would like try not to let people see it, which is like counter business. But on Instagram, I felt like I could like mini blog, you know, so I could show a painting, I could talk about the process, I could do some behind the scenes. For me, it's been like a wonderful platform. And then obviously like things have changed over time. Now I have an official website. And on it, I show products in a shop that are for sale, but I don't show everything all the time on my website because I want people to see it on Instagram as if it were like a behind the scenes and then be driven to the website where they can purchase. I use my website just as the online like e-commerce. A lot of artists use it as like a portfolio, but I have found with social media that is my portfolio. It's much more interactive that way too. And people love behind the scenes videos. Like they could watch them all day. And I'm like, stop watching. But it's been interesting to see sort of that evolve because when I started, I thought, you know, you just need like business card, website, you're done. But for me, it's become much more social. And I think what sets me apart maybe from some artists is that I don't mind telling people about my process. I don't really mind talking about my work. And I've sort of just like used that to my advantage when the rest of it was a little harder.
Any other questions? Okay, you have a question. Oh, give it to you first.
This is also for Megan, just because you're an artist. I mean, all of you are artists. But when you were first starting out, because you're, you know, creating your own art, did you struggle, or I guess how did you determine pricing for it? Because obviously it takes you so long, but people don't realize how long it takes you. So when you break down the hourly, because I am an artist myself, and that's something I'm struggling with, where it takes me so many hours, and so you, in theory, would charge tons for it. But then you block out a section of the market who isn't looking to pay that.
One thing I've done that has helped, first, you have to price competitively. So you have to research artists that you admire, that sell places similar to you, that have a somewhat similar aesthetic, and base your pricing on the market standard. Now, with artists, there isn't a standard because it's arbitrary. And with a lot of creative endeavors, like you're just sort of winging it, right? There aren't like rules necessarily for how you should price a painting. But I do think that if you price yourself within the general parameters of the market, that's a good way to start. But then there's ways to get around that. So like a big painting is very expensive. And like I personally don't buy original paintings. Like we don't have a lot of money for that, right? But I buy prints, I buy small little paintings, I buy note cards, you know what I mean? Like, so there's different types of target audiences, and I think as long as you realize that you don't have to have just one, like I would love to sell $1,200 paintings all day long, right? But that's just not realistic at this point. So I've sort of expanded my target audience so that people can afford it if they're in college, all the way through like hiring a professional designer. And you sort of just, you work with your audience.
When people like to get their pens and paper out and take notes to hear what our reps from our companies will share about some e-commerce trends. But one last question about omni-channel selling. And I'm not sure if you are all familiar on this type of selling. And Square will go into a little bit more detail about it. But it's kind of where you sell, how you sell, how many different platforms or in person or in newsletters you go about selling. So I'd love if you all could just maybe pinpoint and share how you go about selling and maybe where you get the most sales. I know Drummer What Yoga Wheel might be online. You guys are crazy popular, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about that from each of you before we move on. Yeah, Megan.
Okay, so I sell through Instagram, in person, sometimes. I'm not really a salesperson, so in person for me is like my legit nightmare. My website, I've worked with galleries in the past, and obviously they take a cut, but it's a whole new audience, so it's like a worthwhile business endeavor. And Most of my sales currently are through Instagram. So I'll like post paintings live on the live stories, and people will comment like mine instantly. I'm like, okay, chill. Like, and then I send invoices. It's like there's like 28 platforms. So I'm #not streamlined. Sorry.
Most of our sales are through Weebly, actually. Everything goes through the e-commerce. We try to keep it simple, right? So we do Weebly, we do Amazon, and then we're just getting into distributors. So before everything was going through us, and now we see the benefits of distributors because they could get into other stores and retails that we honestly don't know how. So now we're going into distributors, and Instagram is the way we advertise. So we'll put something on Instagram, hey, we have a sale, and then they come to our website. But I think the cleanest is simple, right? Like right to you, if you could do that, if you have a product that does that. Some products need to be in retail, of course, but for us, we didn't need to be, which is really good. And retail's kind of gone down, I think, and not in the food industry, but in product industry, because everyone shops online now. So majority of our products are all online.
Yeah, we also have some yoga studios and gyms or that kind of fitness-esque places that'll sell our wheels. And we also do like events, like a yoga event. We'll have a booth out there. And the thing about our product is you kind of have to experience it. You can't just like, if you go online, you're going to like, oh, there's a circle, great, But you really have to like lay on it and experience it to really understand like how good it is. But yeah.
I sell primarily 2 ways, either through Weebly and I sell directly to my retailers.
So we primarily advertise through Instagram, and then we sell directly to retailers, Whole Foods or small supermarkets, and try to direct all of our traffic for e-com through Weebly using Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. Social media is huge on advertising, especially Instagram, where we get most of our hits from.
Let's give a round of applause for those 4 successful business owners. Right. They'll be back here. I'm going to let them go get a beer and a glass of wine because they deserve it. I'm going to hand the mic over to Derek, one of our lead designers at Weebly, who's going to share some best design tips and tricks when building your online store or site. I will be sending this presentation deck out to everyone tomorrow, so if you don't want to write down, that's totally fine. But take it off, Derek. Yep.
Awesome. As Dana said, my name is Derek. I work at Weebly. I've been with the company like 3.5 years now as a product designer. And everything I'm about to say basically is the tips that I tell my mom to do. My mom's an active Weebly user. She's in real estate and she uses Weebly. She has like 1 million Weebly sites. So you don't have to be a designer to design a great website. And what I'm going to cover today is essentially what you're doing is you're designing a great first impression. When someone comes to your site for the first time, there's a few things that you can do to kind of build that initial trust with them and essentially get them to give you money. So that's the goal. And what's really cool, in a recent study, 94% of a user or site visitor's first impressions had to do with the visual appeal, so the imagery, maybe it's the font choice and things like that, and how simple it was and how intuitive it was to use. So I'm going to cover, look at these interactions. I'm going to cover these three items, and then I actually made a little tutorial that I'll go through super quickly. But I'm going to talk about navigation, your headline choice, and your imagery. All right, so the first thing is creating a clear and simple navigation. I like to think about it, this is something that we probably experience, maybe not so much in New York, but I definitely experienced it when I was in the suburbs or when I grew up in Virginia and I had to go to a grocery store. Now you just get things delivered, which is super nice. But when I used to go to, when I went to a grocery store, you'd see essentially the store navigation. I would look up at the sign and I could see, okay, I am looking for apples. So naturally I would walk to produce. So the same applies to building a website. When you map out your site, what we call in design like information architecture, essentially your site map or the pages of your site. I'm just going to click through these so you guys can read them and you don't have to listen to me. But basically the goal is to make it very intuitive. You want to use industry standard page names like home or shop or about, contact, things like that. Those are they're basically a paradigm that has been used in the web industry forever, and people are already familiar with those page names. So they know that, hey, I want to get a little bit of information about this company, or maybe it's your portfolio, things like that. I'm going to go to the About Me section. I want to contact you. I'm going to click this contact page. The simpler the page names, the more intuitive your site will be, and people don't get frustrated and leave. So that's definitely crucial. And again, Dana will send out this slideshow, so you guys can totally get all this information there as well. I like pictures because I'm a visual person, so this is Alibi Interiors. They sell picture frames that are handmade that are awesome. I have a couple of them. But basically the way that they mapped out their navigation is home, shop, about, contact, stockist, and cart. And I think we all could understand simply what information is categorized within those pages. So again, this is it comes back to building a great first impression and building trust. Next is your headline. So your headline is your value prop. You want it to be super short, clear, legible. You don't want people reading paragraphs or having to read a paragraph when they first land onto your site. Most of the time, unless it's like in your domain, they're not really going to know what your website has. So you want to, your opportunity is within those first couple seconds to basically give the impression to your site visitor what you're selling or what your site is about. So keeping it simple and short and easy to read is definitely a great way to give off the sense of professionalism. It's a great way to maybe your brand's a little more loose and funny and casual, so you use that tone of voice. This is that moment where you can really set the tone for the rest of the site when it comes to the copy that people will be reading on your site. So I have an example here from Kuju Coffee. Immediately, again, visuals are super important. I'll go over that in the next slide, but I understand that they sell coffee, and it says meet the pocket pour over, so I know a little bit about coffee. I'm like, okay, wait, pour over, that means coffee. So that's already, within the first couple seconds I understand. They followed up with the subtitle that says new, ready to brew drip coffee, not that instant stuff. So I'm like, all right, so they sell coffee, it's ready to brew, it's drip coffee. It looks like, from the visual that I might be camping or exploring or hiking, so it's really made for that. And then it says not that instant stuff, and not to knock instant coffee, not my favorite, so that might be something that basically catches my attention, intrigues me, and makes me want to try it out. All right. Lastly, I want to talk about imagery. Imagery sells your products. From this study, I believe it's like 90% of the people that were in this study, the visuals were processed 60 times faster in the brain than text. So we all know how important pictures are, especially for me. I always enjoy the pictures in the books that I read when they have pictures, more so than the text. So the goal here is to essentially have pictures that promote your brand, that promote the products that you're selling, that aren't crazy. They're just straight to the point. I like to think about it if you were, and it goes back again to building trust. If you were posting an ad on Craigslist, I already have this air of I'm not really sure if this product that's being sold on Craigslist is what's being displayed. But if the post has a nice image, if the headline or the text, the description there is straight to the point, I can understand that. I'm willing to trust that a little bit more than if it's this like blurry image. Maybe there's only one of them. I can't really tell what's in the picture. Maybe it's bad lighting or things like that. So it's those little things that we can do when we're putting together a site or taking pictures of our products that can really make or break that can really turn a site visitor into a customer, that can build that sense of trust, and that will make people want to tell other people about your product. So Dana, if you could click this link here. Awesome. And I'll have Dana send this out as well. So I don't necessarily sell a product, but I do. Well, I do. I'm a designer and I work on the side and I sell my services in a sense. But I think the question that I get a lot is, okay, I want to be professional and I want to take great product images. I'm not a photographer. I don't have the money to rent out a studio. I don't want to pay someone else to do it because that's expensive as well. Is there any way that I can take great product images without breaking the bank? And the answer is yes, you totally can. So I did this tutorial. I'm not the only one. There's like a million on the internet. So if this doesn't suit your needs, like totally just Google search do-yourself product tutorial. But basically, I spent $20 and I used my iPhone. I have a digital camera that I use just for taking photos. So I used both my iPhone and a Sony mirrorless camera that I have just to show you guys the difference, the minimal difference in product images. But I spent $20. I went to Dwayne Reed. I bought 2 pieces of cardboard or paper, I guess it's cardstock or whatever it is. They're white. I had a table. I found a room with some light, which I all think we have, or hopefully we have. It's kind of hard to find a room with light sometimes in New York. But yeah, and this took me 20 minutes total to set up. And it was super easy to kind of interchange the products in there. If you want to scroll down a little bit, I made this little diagram. Well, I kind of went through all the items that you need. It's definitely easy if you have a tripod, but you can do it, again, with your iPhone. So I found a window, I let the light come in, I set up this sweep with tape, and I put my product there, and I took my camera, and I took a picture, and you can scroll down. And again, Dana will send this out so you can totally find all this information. You can scroll. Yeah, so here's the setup. You can keep going. So here's the photo that I took before I retouched it with my camera, my mirrorless camera, and already, like, even if I didn't go the extra length of retouching the photo, like, this would work. This totally gives off a sense of, and of course it's like on a projector and you can't really tell the quality, but this already gives off a sense of professionalism. Like, it doesn't have a crazy background. There aren't crazy shadows that are kind of distorting the image. So it can be done. And yeah, I left some settings here if you guys want to dig into that. This is the shot that I took with my iPhone, which is very similar to the shot that I took with the camera. So again, super easy. And this just, what it does is just builds, it builds your brand, it builds that trust, it gets people to buy into your company. It lets people know that, hey, I'm serious, I'm passionate about what I sell, I'm willing to go the extra mile to get product photography done. In their minds, that's what they think. And it's super easy to do in your home, and you know, for under $20. You can scroll down some more. This is like the end of the tutorial, but basically this is after I retouched it. If you want to try your hand at Photoshop, it's really easy to do. I linked a tutorial in there that's really easy to follow as well. If not, there are a lot of services that will clip your photos and give them like an ultra white background for like less than $1 a photo. So if you only have like a couple of products, it's totally worth the investment. Yeah, so here's like an image of our partner Square. They totally nailed like all aspects of like best practices. They have a great image. Their headline is clear and straight to the point. I understand, even without reading that, like, hey, this is a chip and card reader that I can take anywhere. It's very clean. It's very on brand. You know, I can see their menu. I see sign in. I see shop. Like all elements. You're like, wait, I don't remember anything that guy said and what he rambled about forever. Like, just go to Square and be like, okay, here's a great example. And then lastly, you know, designing a great first impression is basically, you know, an intuitive site with great imagery. It highlights your brand's values, and it helps you build your sites, build trust with your site's visitors. So, thanks.
Thank you, Derek. A lot of people on Facebook Live have been asking where they can find these slides, and I have all of your email addresses, so you'll get them, but I don't have the 2.7 people that are viewing. It's 2.7 million or 1,000? I'm not sure the number, but hey guys. So we will be uploading all these slides to weebly.com/summer-events-series. We'll be posting that link on the Facebook Live URL comment section as well. But next up, we have Spencer from Square. He flew in all the way from San Francisco for us, so let's give him a big New York welcome. All right, now I'm going to hand you this clicker.
I actually just moved here, so permanently, just for this. So thank you. Let me go next one. So yes, my name is Spencer McCluskey. I'm on the local marketing team at Square. I've been there for a little over 3 years. I lead all of our trade show efforts, and then I also support festivals and experiential marketing. So I'm here today to talk about a couple things. Boosting your sales with an omni-channel strategy, creating a seamless experience for your shoppers, and then also 5 low-cost tips for omni-channel expansion, and then ending with a success story. The 5 expansion tips, I just want to say, the business owners that were up here earlier absolutely nailed all 5 of them. So they're definitely doing it right. So boost sales with omni-channel strategy. One channel just obviously isn't enough anymore. Your buyers want, or your shoppers want multiple channels to buy from. Giving them the options while delivering a consistent experience across all sales and marketing tactics will help you stay competitive in what's already an incredibly competitive market. So Harvard Business Review recently did a study on shoppers. They followed 43,000 shoppers over a 14-month period. And what they found is 73% of them use multiple channels to shop. 4% more in store, 10% more online. And the best statistic of the review was that 23% of them actually were repeat shoppers to the retailers. So thank you, Harvard, for doing that study for us. Creating a seamless experience for shoppers. So whether it's store, whether it's events, whether it's website, app, marketplace, social, integrated solutions from payment, commerce, productivity are key to running a business efficiently. At Square, we really trying to hone in on that, having a one-stop shop for everything, no matter what channel you want to reach out to, no matter what side of the business you want to utilize. And I think Square and Weebly do a great job with their integration. Touching on this seamless experience for shoppers, store, and events. So we recently worked on, within the last year, Kanye West did pop-ups all across the US and internationally, and we worked on the 15 in the US. One thing that was just very memorable about that experience was, even working on it, I had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, he is just very, like, no one can know until the second it's ready. But he sent out these cryptic tweets, Instagram posts, the website was kind of taunting that something was coming. All of a sudden, through social media, people found out where these pop-ups were going to be, lines for days. And the one that I worked on was in Chinatown in San Francisco, and it was a little hole-in-the-wall place, but kids lined up. They walk into this experience, and the experience was all walls were white, his music blasting so you couldn't hear yourself think, and you were handed a piece of paper with a Sharpie, and you could only circle what you wanted, and you could only write the size next to it. You couldn't try anything on. You could just look at it, you handed it to a runner, they went and got it, you paid, you were out. And you could only be in there for 10 minutes. So, right, it's crazy, but I'm still talking about it today. I know people are waiting for whatever the next pop-up's gonna be. He created a memorable experience, a brand experience through social media, through his website, through e-commerce. And obviously he has a huge platform, but still, he thought outside the box, what would be different, what would be creative, what would work, and it definitely did work. So 5 omni-channel expansion tips. These are low cost, we can all do them, super easy. So diversify where you sell. Again, thinking outside the box, trying new different channels to reach out to your customers, to get them into the door, to kind of tempt them to make bigger purchases. Offer cross-channel services. What does that mean? Digital receipts, payments, free in-store and return, free pickups and returns in store, Wi-Fi in your store. These are all free cross-channel services that you guys can offer to your customers that, again, kind of build loyalty and build your brand. Understand your customers, loyalty platforms. I remember when a loyalty platform was a sandwich card and you got 10 punches, you got a free sandwich, right? Nowadays, with technology, you can record email addresses, you can record cell phone numbers, right? You can build campaigns on the back end to track your customers, their history, their frequency, what is their favorite item. You can tailor those campaigns to them to get them in the door. With the technology today, you're never out of touch with your customers. And I think that's a really amazing thing. I think that that's something that everyone should be utilizing. Integrate social media. We talked a lot about social media earlier. Having your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook widgets on your emails, on your website, making sure that your customers always have the opportunity to stay connected with your brand. They should never be out of touch. Share your expertise, right? Creating educational content for your customers, hosting parties, hosting events in your brick and mortar, or renting out a space, linking up with other industry brand leaders, right? Finding different ways to reach your customers that maybe always isn't about, getting them to buy, right? Giving back to them. There was a point as a business owner where you had nothing, you were just starting out. There's a lot of people that maybe shop at your store that are in the same situation and kind of need that push, right, to make that leap as well. So giving back your expertise will help build that brand loyalty with your customers. So success story. So this is Jake. Jake and Nathan started a business in San Francisco. Fun fact, they were on Project Runway, if there's any Project Runway fans. And their business today is $1 million business. They're extremely successful. And omnichannel is a cornerstone of their business. So what did they do that was differently? So what Jake does is they have online lookbooks where you can basically style your outfit and then come in the store and pick it up. You can also come in the store and have that outfit tailored to your body. So they've kind of taken customer service to a whole nother level, where you are coming in, they are fitting you and helping you design your outfits pretty much based off of your personality, your style. That is an incredibly memorable experience, right? Because you're leaving the store saying, hey, this is just as much as part of me as it is like that Jake designed it, right? We did this together. And this styling appointments that they do, it's actually 30% of their customer base. So once you get it styled, once you get it all figured out, you actually have to come back and pick it up. So they kind of get you for a second styling appointment, which then translates to more sales. So again, this is kind of thinking outside the box. They're utilizing multiple channels to reach their customers, and they're giving back, right? They're sharing their expertise with their customers by creating educational content in the sense that they are going through the process of styling those clothes with you. So that is it for me today. Those are the different ways you can utilize omni-channels. I'm very excited to answer any questions after we're done with the slides. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Spencer. last but not least, we have Todd from Google Cloud here. Personally, I don't know what I would do without Google Cloud because everyone here that likes calendar, I don't think there's more organized way to stay managed with everything with your Google Calendar. So tell us a little bit about how to stay organized and manage with your small business, please.
Sure. I'm Todd O'Hara. I work for Professional Services, which is in Google Cloud, but I'm really part of our partnership team, so I work with Weebly. I was asked to actually speak here tonight not as a Googler, but as a former entrepreneur. So how many people in the room are actually entrepreneurs right now? All right, great. How many of you are single entrepreneurs? How many of you have hired your first employee? Okay, so 1, 2. So Megan mentioned something earlier. She was talking about like these stages, and she moved from her room out to this bigger room, had this oh my gosh moment. Well, at some point you'll hire your first employee, and you'll have another oh my god moment. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is as a former entrepreneur, I started a technology business in 2009, and it was really easy to stay on track when it was just me. And then when I brought on my first employee, I realized, how do I get the most out of my team? And then I realized, well, I'm thinking about it wrong. How do my teammates, how do my employees get the most out of themselves? How do they wake up every morning, go to work, empower themselves? And so it was called Google Apps for Work in 2009, and it's now G Suite. It's really ironic because I ran my whole business through it. There was no Salesforce. I used Google Sheets for everything. Sales, everything. Our team was out selling. We had a loyalty platform at the time for small and medium businesses. We were competing against Square and all the other great companies out there. But everything we did ran through our productivity tool, which is the team I now work on at Google. So I'm evangelizing a product that I used I used for 8 years before joining Google. And it's really fun to talk to entrepreneurs, to talk about the product. Because I can talk about it as someone that's been in the battle of being your intern, being your accountant, being your own web designer, wearing every single hat. So what I found the most powerful for me once you start building a team was being able to collaborate. And being able to collaborate in real time, every hour of the day, every day of the week. Because being an entrepreneur is not a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 job. I mean, it is right now. Your phones are ringing. You have things going on. You're at dinners with your family and friends. You're probably talking about your life and your product to everyone at every single time of the day, where even your family and friends are like, okay, we get it, right? I was that person. I did that. Having a tool that allows you to connect with everyone on your team throughout the day allows you the flexibility to be on the move, to be in meetings. So I think we have some slides, and this isn't clicking. Well, but I really don't want to get into any of the specifics. I'm happy to answer all the questions you have about the specifics of the product. I'd rather just tell a couple stories, like the one I told about being an entrepreneur and using our Sheets product to run everything. We use Sheets to run our entire sales. Then we had a script that would pull the sales into a different Sheets document so we could see what we were selling, how many sales we made each day. And but what's really interesting is now that I work at a big company like Google, I use the same products every day, the same exact way. And in fact, I use them much more at Google. We don't have any secret sauce internally. We use these products and these products only. So when I get into work, I search my drive for a file and I pull it down. It might be something that a team member wrote. It might be something that a partner that is shared with a partner. I have hundreds of shared docs with Weebly talking about all sorts of new initiatives and projects. So I really just want to say, as an entrepreneur, it is something that was critical to our team's success. It's just being able to collaborate in real time. So I don't want to go through these because I don't want to sound like I'm selling something. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So we're going to open up the floor for you all to ask questions to Spencer, Derek, and Todd about these 3 platforms. Feel free to talk about or ask questions about product photography, omni-channel, whatever comes to mind. I'll be handing the mic around, so just raise your hand and we'll come to you. All right, first one over here.
I've been a Weebly user since 2010, so I find it to be the most user-friendly out there. And a lot of my clients are non-techie, so that's why Weebly is one of my go-to websites when you're talking about being non-techie. But my question today is for Google. Todd, okay. One of my mantras is that you do not have to be a major corporation to have the look and feel of one, right? And so I promote using free to low cost tools all of the time. And Google, I'm like an undercover ambassador for Google because I use every last one of them. I even created a course that is called Get Googly because I just want people to be able to use the tools that's out there, especially when
right here for me.
especially when you are a startup or a freelancer or whatever, and you don't really have the money to really get to where you want to be. But my question to you is how the stigma, there is a stigma or a myth that if you're using Google products, you're not professional. If you don't have Infusionsoft, if you're not using this and that, and you're using Google, you're not professional, you haven't arrived yet. And so I just want to know, how would you combat that?
Wow, that's a good question. And I'm not sure I have the best answer, but I can kind of tell you my take on it. I'd say there are incumbents in the productivity space that have been there a long time. Companies which shall not be named. And yeah, they're enterprise-ready companies that have been around a long time. And Google, of course, has been a consumer-facing company since the beginning. So, and I think about this as a greater cloud problem, right? You think about Google Cloud, there is another cloud provider out there that might be a little bit bigger than us that's been around a little bit longer. But I think there is a movement going on right now that companies are starting to realize the power and the simplicity of our tools, and the stigma is wearing off. We rarely run into companies that say, we can't do this because you're not enterprise ready. We are becoming more enterprise ready, and you can go to our website and see the number of Fortune 500 companies that have over 50,000 employees that they only use this software. So you're right. There is, it is a young product compared to some of the incumbents, but I'm not sure the stigma exists anymore. I think as an entrepreneur, I always found, and I can tell you right now, if I get an email from an some other company competitor of Google.com email address, I'm like, how does this person have something at company that used to send you CDs in the mail for internet.com email, right? So I think companies that use G Suite now, we look at them and say, oh, thank God, this will be easy to deal with. But it's a good point.
All right.
I actually have questions for Spencer and Todd. I'll start with Spencer. I don't work for myself anymore. I was hired on by a not-for-profit. But I brought Square into our retail space and into when we sell products at conventions and what have you. But I don't think we use it for our online, mostly because we use WordPress. Is Square looking to, I don't know if Square has integration with WordPress at all, and because I would love to have a more integrated look, and I'm sure our bookkeeper would love to have everything in one place, as opposed to having it, in Square and then another place.
Yes. Yes. So as of right now, we do not have a integration with WordPress. Mm-hmm. We do have an integration with a lot of different companies. Really great integration with Weebly, sure, of course. And then we also integrate with accounting softwares as well, like QuickBooks and Xero. So we actually have a dedicated site on our part of our website called App Marketplace, which goes through each part of your business that we do have partners with in those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And Todd, actually, we're part of the thing in our business is that we want to make sure that we have control over all of the information that we have in our company. And there's this concern that when you have it in Google services, you don't actually have ownership of your work anymore. I don't think that that's necessarily true, but there's this stigma out there that Google owns your stuff. I know, I've read the terms of service, I know that's not true, but how would you, I know a lot of my coworkers and myself would love to switch our stuff over to G Suite. Certainly right now, working on projects together is a hot mess. We're just, it's all email that we take care of ourselves and a web disk that is a nightmare. How would you introduce your product to people who are, well, suspicious?
Man, I'm not on the sales team, so I don't know how to answer all these. But
Sorry about that.
I can tell you that in any company that's looking to go with a cloud provider, because G Suite, it's a cloud product, right? You don't have to host anything yourself. You're going to put it in Google data centers. Now, you don't realize you're putting it in Google data centers, but when you open up a Drive storage, it's in a data center. If you open up any other competitive service, it's sitting in their data centers. And many times, if you're opening up other third-party services, it's not actually in their data centers, it's in other data centers that they rented. So what I can tell you from a security standpoint, it's the most secure with Google because you get direct access to us and talk to us. We own the data centers. We run the data centers. We manage the data centers. And something that a lot of people don't know is we actually own and manage all of the egress between our data centers. We lay down the fiber optic cable that connects all of our data centers in the entire world. Your data never hits the public internet, maybe just in that last mile to get from that cord in. That does not exist on anyone else. So I could talk about fun data facts all day, but ultimately it's the stigma of cloud that we really go up against. It's rarely, hey, there's an issue with Google, because we could make a pretty strong argument that it's the same stigma for company X or company Y. It really comes down to gaining the trust of users to understand that everything is more secure in a cloud company, a large cloud company that has tens of thousands of engineers every day trying to learn how to secure data. I mean, I don't know how many we have, but we have a lot. So,
thanks. I'll keep at them and see if I can get us to switch over to Weebly or something for our new website, because our website right now is terrible.
I have a question for Weebly. You talked, I'm sure because the topic of your presentation was about taking photos for your website. What advice do you have for businesses that do not necessarily have physical products and are maybe like consultants or have products that they're not necessarily selling online? Do you have any guidance for those type of businesses?
Yeah, totally. So I think even for myself, I sell a service. I run a design studio on the side, and I don't necessarily have like the need to take pictures of the physical or any sort of physical anything. I think when it comes to, in the sense of designing a good first impression or designing a professional website, there are a lot of sites that do give out free imagery, so you don't necessarily have to go take your own images in that regard. But I do think following just making your navigation super easy to follow and just making it clear what you're selling up front through the copy and the tone of voice that you use and your just overall brand. I think those are great ways outside of visuals to really put your best foot forward and present that kind of professional vibe that we're all striving for. I'm not sure if that fully answers your question. But yeah, in terms of images, there are unsplash.com is like a great site. I use it all the time. It has, I don't even know how many photos that are taken by professional photographers that are just given essentially to the World Wide Web for people to use, copyright free, doesn't cost any money. You can just go on the site, you can download photos, and they have photos for everything. So that's just a great resource if you're looking for a couple images, don't really want to like shell out any money for stock photos, or just aren't really finding what you're looking for. Like, that's a great resource as well. So.
I want to mention that we'll be here till around like 8:30. I think then we're gonna have to clear out. If there's no more questions, some of our small user panelists are still here. If you'd like to talk with them and ask any questions, I will share my email with the email I send tomorrow. So if you don't feel comfortable asking your question here, feel free to do so on email. But with that, I would say finish up the cheese, wine, and beer, and thank you all so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.